Some wonderful cowboy boots that Mr. Monckton is sporting. Millie Weaver reporting for Infowars.com. We're here in Bozeman, Montana at the Red Pill Expo. I'm here with Lord Christopher Monckton, who has been amazing. You have given some amazing speeches all throughout this expo.
Well, I think it was outstanding. Perhaps the most outstanding speech of the whole conference was that by Jeanette Finicum, whose husband, LAVOYS, was brutally murdered by being shot several times in the back on the flimsy and entirely insubstantial excuse that he was reaching for a gun when he had repeatedly made it clear to them that he was not going to do any such thing. This was an organized, carefully planned, premeditated murder, and those guilty of it were the governor of California, the governor of Oregon, the FBI field offices in both those places, the sheriff's office of Southern Oregon, and also Mr. Comey of the FBI. And if I have anything to do with it, they will all shortly be getting writs for a RICO prosecution because they conspired. We may even have to bring Mr. Obama into this as well. They conspired together to kill a manifestly, entirely harmless and innocent man.
It is unbelievably horrible to hear about this tragedy that the Finicum family really has had to endure. And it has been an inspirational speech with what she said, but it just speaks to the fact that we must drain the swamp in this country, or else our own lives are at risk. It could have been any of us. It could be anyone that wants to stand up against a tyrannical government.
And that is why this must be stopped. I mean, the Obama regime will be seen to have been the most corrupt in the history of the United States. He presided over this. It was he and Comey together who decided, and you can see this still on the FBI's website, which has not yet been drained of this filth, that anyone who professes to be a Christian or quotes the Bible or quotes the US Constitution, or when stopped at a traffic light, asks for why he has been stopped and on what authority, they are to be regarded, not merely regarded as potential terrorists, but reported to the Joint Terrorist Task Forces, of which there are now 103. I can reveal exclusively tonight, this is breaking news, plans are already in hand, lawyers are being consulted, funds are being raised. We started here tonight, and $1 million is going to be raised to pay for this RICO prosecution. And my advice, insofar as I know juries, is that any jury, seeing the facts that I have already unearthed from looking at the published materials that are available, would be bound to convict those responsible for what was undoubtedly not a lawful killing, but an outrageous murder by the state.
We see this situation and we're not seeing that national outcry. Do you think it's because the media has had a hand in kind of demonizing the people of the Oregon standoff?
Let me tell you what happened at the press conference held by the sheriff in Southern Oregon after the murder. There were various unbelievably tame, uncritical and unquestioning journalists there. And the sheriff said one very extraordinary thing among a number of rather lame excuses. He said that LAVOYS Finicum was wanted for federal offences. Now, not one of those journalists said what federal offences. He hadn't committed any. And what also they should have asked, I would have asked, I used to be a journalist like you, and you go on asking questions until you get the answer. I've seen how good you are at it. You're an absolute star. But what I would have asked is, may we please see the warrant that had been issued for his arrest? Because without a warrant for his arrest, it was unlawful to put up a roadblock and stop him. Do you know, there was no warrant for his arrest at the time when he was stopped? They were going to get it the next morning. That was their excuse. Let me tell you something else, breaking news. Because when I was on with Alex Jones some months ago, he very kindly has me on about once a month. And here I am again, turning up like a bad penny. I was talking about this episode, the Finicum murder, And I said it was very clear to me that Mr. Comey and Mr. Obama's policy of treating Christians and people who quote the Bible and people who quote the Constitution, people even who quote decisions of the Supreme Court, are to be regarded and reported as though they were terrorists or potential terrorists. That policy, which led to the death of LAVOY Finicum very directly, a policy which has not yet been reversed, though I'm going to see to it that it is reversed, I transmitted a short report of this to the administration's transition team. And I said, you need to watch for this one because it's going to come back and bite government generally in the backside unless you are aware of it. And I said to them privately what I then said, and you can go back and check this, I said this publicly on the air, it would be necessary, for the sake of Mr. Trump distancing himself from what had been done, that he should fire Mr. Comey, both privately to the administration's transition team and then publicly on Alex Jones. Weeks later, he was gone. So don't you think, you who committed this crime, that because I am from across the pond, I don't have sufficient influence to make a difference to what is going to happen to you now. From this day on, when this broadcast is drawn to your attention, you will never again sleep easy in your beds, and very soon you will not be sleeping in beds, you will be sleeping in cots by a tin toilet in a small cell shared with somebody that you might not normally wish to know on your social circuit. So be very clear on this. Mr. Comey has already gone. I called for it. I briefed the administration. He went. I'm not saying, of course, that I was the sole reason for that, but I've no doubt that my little fourpence worth was added into the balance along with other evidences of his wrongdoing. But we are going to continue to press forward with this matter. We are not going to leave Mrs. Finicum unhelped and abandoned. We are also going to look into the way in which the Bureau of Land Management has been willfully failing to comply with federal regulations that require them forthwith to ensure that Mrs. Finicum is given the right to continue to ranch the government-owned land that her late husband had. And at the moment they're still dithering. They won't reply to correspondence. They won't even say that they're refusing her. They're deliberately just delaying it in the hope that she will run out of money, go bankrupt and go away. Now that kind of communistic practice is unacceptable. That too is going to be stopped. I'm glad to say that one of the great legal foundations has realized what an outrage this is. They are now going to help her with that matter. And so the Bureau of Land Management, and let me tell you this, your very existence is under threat as a result of your mistreatment of Mrs. Finicum. My advice to you is this, that if within 2 weeks of this broadcast you have failed to make sure that she is told that she is entitled to continue the land lease that was originally in favour of her late husband, then the Bureau of Land Management will from then on be at very grave risk indeed of being abolished and of all its senior management debarred from ever holding any public office again.
New from Enraged Essentials, fragrance-free natural deodorant for your body care needs. Playing basketball in the dry summer heat really makes me sweat. To maintain my game, I need all the confidence I can get. That's why I use Enraged Essentials natural deodorant. Made with organic ingredients, this deodorant combines mineral crystals with natural botanicals to ionize odor, keeping me fresh throughout the day. While shooting hoops, the last thing I want is sweaty armpits making my hands slippery and the ball wet. That's why I recommend Enraged Essentials fragrance-free deodorant. Even though it's unscented, it's effective at combating strong body odor, and I don't have to worry about any unwanted allergic reactions to my sensitive skin. Whether you're a guy or gal, the last thing you want to be worried about is your deodorant. No petroleum-based ingredients, 100% natural and cruelty-free. Stay in the game with Enraged Essentials fragrance-free natural deodorant. Available at InfoWarsStore.com.